So we've had the election, we've got a government being formed and a cabinet being formed as we speak. I think it's just an opportune moment really just to get your views on, what does the future hold? What are the implications for our clients? John, let me start with you. I mean, clearly against the context of the public deficit, huge issues that clearly were played out during the campaign and the election and all of that. What is the issue? Where are we? What's the prospects for the UK economy?
Well, the good news is that we are getting a gradual recovery in the UK. We're probably going to get growth of 1% or so this year. The bad news is there are still lots of problems out there in the world. We've seen the euro area financial crisis, which nearly hit us last week, just been rescued by a big bailout at the weekend. So we've still got this problem that although we had a big build-up of private debt during the last decade, that's now been transferred onto public sector balance sheets. That's stopped the crisis for the moment, but it's built up a huge problem for the future to repay that public debt. And of course the UK had one of the biggest budget deficits in the OECD. And so we've got a huge challenge now for the new government of trying to address that deficit, and that's going to require a much more detailed and credible plan that was announced by any of the parties during the election, involving both, I think, big tax rises and big spending cuts.
And we're clearly working on that and the prospect of an emergency budget coming up within 50 days or so. John, let me bring you in at this point. I mean, what do you think then, against that background, some of the big challenges, what do you see as some of the immediate issues that the government is going to have to face?
Well, we'll see where the spending restrictions will fall when we see the emergency budget. I suspect for the first year, and from the point of view of people doing business with government, for the first year of that, there won't be a huge impact, simply because it's quite hard to make big savings in year. So I think the immediate impact will be price pressure, renegotiating with existing contracts, perhaps some cutting of very discretionary areas. The bigger impact will be in the medium term when we get onto the famous efficiency agenda. So suddenly during the election campaign, efficiency became a political topic. It'll carry on being a political topic. And I think that will have very volatile impacts for business, for the business services sector. Those who just stick to supplying to government in a normal business as usual will have a hard time. Those who can come up with different ways of doing things which release cashable savings, so real cash, then they'll succeed.
So you think there'll be winners and losers in all of this?
Yes, I think in any tough market, market shares are very volatile. So I think this is a very tough market, and we will see some people, some big names, I think, really struggling, and some other names coming through. And as I say, it's people who can, it's not doing more for the same or more for more money, it's the same or a bit less for a lot less cash out.
And doing things in a different way.
Yeah.
Julie, I mean, in a longer term, we've clearly talked about short-term pressures, medium sort of stuff. Longer-term things, I mean, there's a huge agenda here for the government to have to deal with.
There is, but I think one that is one of the most profound is the challenge of dealing with our ageing population. Over the next couple of decades, we've got the double whammy of the retirement of that large group of baby boomers who were born between 1945 and 65, plus the kind of ongoing we all live longer, which means that age-related spending for government is going to go up, and there are labour market issues as well for employers who are our clients.
So as fast as we reduce, we've got a problem going the other direction.
Absolutely. Even if the politicians succeed in bringing down the debt due to the banking crisis, when you add in the projected increase in debt because of age-related spending, then actually the debt carries on going up. It doesn't come down, and that's clearly not sustainable.
Okay, so what are the implications for our clients with that then?
Well, one of the things we've recommended to government is that they increase the state pension age. They're already planning to increase it from to 68 by 2046, and we're recommending it's increased to 70 by 2046, and that means we all have to work longer. And for employers, well, that means government needs to think about its skills strategy to retrain people during their working life and also end the default retirement age so that people can work longer. But for our employers, I think it's a real challenge because coming out of recession, we're most concerned about getting young people into work. There are all sorts of misconceptions about older workers aren't productive. But if we don't tackle it, we have a huge hole in the labour market because of the small number of young people coming through.
So it's a big issue there. John, I mean, let's just open it up then. So we've got some massive issues coming in the red boxes for the Cabinet when it's formed. What would be your, one or two really key things there?
Well, I think, as I mentioned earlier just briefly, I think tax rises are on the way. We can do so much on the spending side, as John said, but particularly with this longer-term demographic challenge as well, you just can't fill the fiscal gap entirely through spending cuts. You're going to have big tax rises. I think an increase in VAT, for example, seems very likely, possibly as
so that's
early
what you're tipping,
as
VAT
the emergency
increase?
budget. VAT increase, probably increases in green taxes. I think Liberal Democrats already talked about aviation taxes. We may see those going up quite a lot. And probably a range of taxes on the banks and other people as well.
So again, some big pressures there, and affecting different industries, different sectors in different ways.
Affecting different sectors, yes. I mean, VAT, obviously, consumer sectors, retail, the banks, I think, likely to be hit. Air transport, if it hasn't got enough problems, may be hit by these aviation taxes, and really affecting both individuals and businesses. And there's also a potential reform of corporation tax by the Conservative Party, which is going to reduce the rate, but take away investment allowances. So that will hit manufacturers if they go through with that. So almost all businesses are likely to be affected by the measures we're likely to see introduced.
So they'll be looking at the budget and the emergency measures really pretty closely.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, clearly some huge uncertainty in terms of what all that means for investment decisions and so on.
Certainly they'll be wanting to see we had a kind of phony budget in March. We're going to get the real budget towards the end of June.
Real budget. John?
I pick up a couple of things. First, from Julie's point, I think a real act of leadership required from the government about getting people to get their head around the idea that they will work longer, that their children will work longer, reorganising their personal finances to accomplish that, reshaping some of the financial services industry so it provides products which meet longer, more gradual retirement. So that's a long-term leadership challenge.
And that's affecting industries as well as individuals.
Yes, it's employers, it's financial services sector, and it's us as individuals. Yeah. Personally, Patrick, I'm expecting to work till I'm 92. I think a more immediate thing is picking up John's point about taxes potentially on the banks is quite a challenge here, because both the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats come into power with some big radical ideas on structural reform. I think they're going to be met not only with, of course, a lot of lobbying from the financial services sector, but some fairly cautious official advice saying be careful about the macroeconomic consequences of perhaps major increases in reserving requirements. Be careful about potential first mover disadvantage of doing things ahead of our other international financial centres. So some big things to grapple with there.
Okay. And Julie, just one or two key points for you. What would you be looking out for in terms of key challenges and maybe opportunities for our clients?
Well, we've talked about the negative side of the ageing population, but actually for our clients I think there are some real upsides, because those baby boomers have quite different expectations and aspirations about what they want as products and services as they move into retirement and leisure years. And so I think there are opportunities in housing, how you design housing to suit people with mobility difficulties, groups of houses or apartments that suit older people with possibilities of residential staff, telehealth care opportunities, social networking. Older people want to volunteer more. We can make it easier on a commercial basis using social networking, and actually big changes in the social care market. So people wanting to be independent for longer and have care in their own home and have higher expectations of the quality of care and their independence in residential care.
Okay. So John, final thought from you?
The final thought is that another big long-term challenge is the low-carbon economy. I mean, there's a lot of commitment to environmental issues by both the Conservatives and Liberal Democrats, and I think that will have fundamental impacts for business, challenges for energy-intensive companies, but also huge opportunities to produce low-carbon products and services to actually transform the economy by 2020 and hit the very ambitious targets that they've inherited from the previous government.
So I think you're all saying, big challenges, and Cameron in his speech at number 10 yesterday was just talking about the big challenges that this country faces. Big challenges, you see that. Huge agenda for the new government coming in, but equally opportunities for people in different sectors.
Absolutely.
As we see all of this play out. Thank you all three of you very much.